So, this is goodbye. The Ford Falcon, an Australian icon with history dating back almost 60 years, is no more. With Australian manufacturing closing down, the Falcon nameplate, one of the longest running badges in the world, is also on its way out.
It's not just the iconic sedan that will be finishing up though. Production of the family-friendly Territory SUV will also come to a halt.
Today, like right now as we're filming this, the final Aussie-made Falcon is rolling down the production line at the Broadmeadows assembly plant.
This place won't be building any Fords locally ever again. So it's a goodbye. But is it a fond farewell? Have the last Aussie-made Fords gone out on a high note? Well, Maddie and I are going to find out.
The Falcon we have here is the XR6, not the go-fast turbo model, but the run-of-the-mill bulk seller. It looked quite sporty when it came out a few years ago, but the game has changed and it doesn't quite look as sporty anymore. It's not even one with the impressive 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged EcoBoost engine, which was labelled a sacrilegious move by many Blue Oval fans. Instead, we've got the ancient 4-litre inline 6, a drivetrain that's been built in Australia for decades, although it hasn't seen any advances in almost as long. That's not to say it's a terrible engine, it's just a shame that Ford didn't push the EcoBoost turbo thing more. It was arguably the best fit for this application, unless you wanted performance, and that's what plenty of Ford buyers did want. There are a number of good drivetrains in the Falcon range over the years, including the stonking 5-litre supercharged V8 in the final XR8, and also that turbocharged 4-litre 6, which was a weapon. In fact, the Falcon never disappointed in terms of the way it drove. It had good road manners and the steering was nice and accurate too. It could lap up highway Ks with ease, and urban duties were dealt with easily as well. There's a fair chance you've spent some time sitting on the sticky back seat of one of these things at some point.
Ford Australia originally launched the Territory all the way back in 2004 as a 6-cylinder petrol based on the Falcon platform. The next logical step though was a diesel, but it decided to do things a little differently and hedged its bets on a turbocharged 6. And while it wasn't a sales success, it set the brand up for its first performance SUV. FPV even fiddled with one as well, giving it 270 kilowatts of power, and it sounded absolutely manic. The diesel ended up coming in 2009, and it was actually CarAdvice that exclusively revealed that Ford would be using Land Rover's 2.7-litre V6 diesel engine. In fact, we snapped exclusive photographs of Ford's 14-strong Territory test fleet. It was at this point that Ford facelifted the Territory, and it really found its mojo, becoming the staple family SUV that it is today. 140 kilowatts, 440 newton meters, rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, made it to 6-speed automatic. That was the Territory with the diesel, and it was to become the most popular in terms of numbers. Unlike the Falcon, the driving position in the Territory is fantastic. The steering wheel's high enough, the seat's low enough, and it doesn't feel like you're driving with the steering wheel in your lap. Based on the Falcon platform, the Territory rides and handles so nicely. It's got an electrically assisted steering rack, and it copes with Australian roads without any drama at all. Ford really nailed the brief when it came to the Territory. Territory was exported to countries such as Thailand and South Africa, and you may even remember it making a cameo in Homeland, the TV series, where it was blown to absolute smithereens. Given it wasn't made in left-hand drive and the decision was never made to do it, it could have been such a popular car if it actually made its way into the United States. While we really shouldn't have a lend of the Territory on the day of its funeral, we do have to point out why it earned the nickname Rolling Coal. All you need to do is nail the throttle and then watch as a plume of smoke comes out of the back. It's quite entertaining.
While the Falcon has been a fine car for quite a while, there have been common complaints made about this generation, which launched back in 2008, since it came out. It's always felt like you've sat too high in the driver's seat. Rather than sitting in the car, it's almost like you're sitting on top of it. There's never been enough adjustment for the steering either. When you consider the cars that it was competing against, like the Commodore and the Orion, it just wasn't quite as comfortable to be in. The interior finishes and the media system are quite old, and the trims and plastics just don't live up to today's standards. It does feel quite ancient in here, and that's because it is. At least it's remained a practical family sedan where those sorts of vehicles have fallen by the wayside. The back seat is big enough for 3 adults, and the boot's big too. Look, there have been some great Falcons over the years and others that haven't been quite so impressive, but there's no denying that this locally made large sedan has deserved its spot in Aussie automotive folklore up to now. But realistically, it doesn't anymore. Forget jingoism, the world has changed. People are buying small cars and SUVs, not cars like these, and they can get those cars at better prices with better practicality. Of course, it's sad to see local manufacturing shut down. It stinks. People who have dedicated their working lives to one company have lost their jobs. You can't help but feel for them.
In addition to the final Falcon being built today, it's also the end of the Ford Territory, a car that we know and love. There is an upside from today though. It is that Ford will retain a big engineering operation in Australia. Aussie engineers will continue developing cars for the Australian market and also cars for the international market. While today's a fond farewell to the Falcon, the Territory and the Falcon Ute, it's a huge and heartfelt thank you to the thousands of Australians that have helped promote manufacturing in Australia.